Welcome to the Know Your Ship podcast, presented by eHub. I'm your host, Frank Dolce.
When I was a senior, the summer before my senior year, my mom had my sister number 6. So I was 17. She was 0. And I have an older sister, and they had already left for college.
Also 17 years apart?
No, she's not my twin.
Because this is getting. By the way, are we live? We need to get back into that. Hopefully, recorded some of that because that was super. I have a question to follow up, but welcome back to the Know Your Ship podcast.
Love it. Love the name.
Yes, a genius marketing person who thinks outside of the box and is very highly regarded in several industries came up with that name.
Just cannot be named.
No, we can't name him, but it's a guy who's very well respected individual.
Fair enough.
Like people look up to him. I hear there's a statue in order, like that's coming out soon. Maybe to be replaced.
I know I'm right here.
No,
I'm right here. You don't have to talk about me like that.
We do have something in common. By the way, I'm talking to Eric, the farmer. The CEO of Wallaroo Media. Is that your nickname? The farmhand?
That would be the very first time anyone has ever said that to me. So, no.
That is the first time.
Very first.
Do you have a nickname?
But I don't hate that.
I think that's pretty good. You know why? Because it connotates like work and effort, get the job done attitude, which you could incorporate in your life.
I actually do love that analogy. So I think you're onto something.
I'm pretty good with nicknames. I can't tell you some of the nicknames for the people who are in the room with us right now. That might be inappropriate. But hey, thanks for being here. I'm so glad to have you here.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to this.
Thank you for having me.
I've known you for a year or so.
A year. We met at Sunday's Best.
Yes.
Remember that?
Great, which is a great place. Chicken and waffles.
And, then we went on that trip in April.
Yes.
And, it was basically, we fast forwarded like 20 years of friendship, I believe.
It's funny how that happens in the Magic Kingdom, how that can happen, how that can occur. I think we shared a turkey leg. Did we not?
We shared more than a turkey leg.
That's for another podcast. Yes. Well, I was immediately... Like you're a very engaging, thoughtful, interesting person. And so I was immediately drawn. You probably get that a lot. People are just immediately drawn to you.
Well, that's a huge compliment. So thank you. But I would reciprocate those exact feelings. It's when you leave someone's presence and you're just like uplifted. You're in a better state of mind or better mood. And you think, I need more of that person in my life. That's what it was like meeting you.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you just making that up?
No.
Did they give you a script to say this? That may be the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me in the last several minutes.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Well, thank you. So is this a character trait that you've always had? Like, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Littleton, Colorado. Suburb
nice.
of Denver. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Lovely place. And how many kids in your family?
I have 6 sisters, so no brothers.
And we just found out something interesting is that your youngest sibling, a sister, is 17 years younger than you, and that's the gap between you and the next kid.
No. I'm the second. She's the 7th.
I completely misunderstood that.
But it was just, weird for me being
17,
going into my senior year of high school, and my mom was still having kids. And I have an older sister, and she had already left for her freshman year. She was going into her sophomore year of college. So
she was like 18, 19 years old.
The 7 of us never actually lived together.
Really?
In the household.
Well, so in that scenario, do you mind talking about your childhood? Like,
yeah.
Happy?
Let's dive deep.
Let's do
into
it.
The trauma.
Was it a happy or traumatic or both?
Super blessed childhood, I would say. As I get older and realize what people have been through. I have very fond memories and just am very grateful for the household I was, born into and then raised in.
Yeah. So is that part of this, like your personality traits, the how engaging you are with people? And this, it seems like you have a significant comfort level being in kind of situations with groups of people. Can you relate that back to your childhood and things that you were taught growing up?
I don't, that's interesting. I don't know if I've even ever thought of that before, because I would say it probably doesn't go back that far. I was definitely, someone in any situation. I tried to be the class clown, the funny guy. And, if a joke hit and people laughed, like, it built my confidence. And it reassured me, like, oh, I can keep doing this.
So with 7 kids in the house, you got no attention. And so you had to go out and create the attention.
No, if my sisters heard you say that, they would flip, because being the only boy.
Oh, wait, did you also just say that and I skipped right over it?
Yeah, that's a big deal.
7 kids and you had 6 sisters.
All sisters. Now, luckily, I was the second oldest. So
okay.
The influence that they had on me was minor to none. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe
people might say that because of that scenario, that your emotional intelligence is way higher than most men, because you were raised by 6, 7, including your mom, women who typically have a higher emotional intelligence.
I hope so. I hope that's true.
Do you agree with that or no? Or were your sisters
I mean, I'll say this,
difficult, hard on you?
Everything that they say about women, I mean, I can confirm if it's right or wrong. I witnessed it for 18 years growing up.
Every instance. Yeah.
So actually, a coworker of mine on our leadership team, she brings that up a lot, because she knows I came from a family of 6 sisters, and she says, I think you are the way you are because you have 6 sisters. In a
complimentary way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll dig into that a little bit more. Okay, growing up in that household, and I mean we know where you are today, but I'm trying to figure out, like, what are some of the things that were influential in your childhood that put you on this path? I mean, did you have any experiences that you can talk about, or traumatic events that happened that you would say, well, that was really meaningful? That's part of the reason why I'm here today.
Ooh, that's loaded. Just going to get right down to it.
Yeah. I want people to know the farmhand on a different level.
That's going to stick after this. People are just going to be saying the farmhand.
I hope so. We can only hope.
Again, I feel like I lived a sheltered childhood, very blessed. I do not have any like crazy trauma that I can remember. Now, my personally, we had my sister almost died when I was 3. Maybe that count. Or sorry, I was 8. She was 3.
Mm-hmm.
From heart problems. Like, obviously we went through difficult things, but I was also young enough to like not really know or feel the impact of that, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. I think that might be telling as well, because if I look at your personality traits today, and we've had some discussions about that, but the way that you managed that may be telling about where you ended up and what how you act today in society. Like, that's a traumatic event. Your 3-year-old sister's having heart issues, it seems uncertain. And the way that you're describing it to me is like, it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things you go through as a child. I didn't have a really traumatic childhood.
Right.
That's
I'm probably downplaying it because she was in the hospital. My mom was 9 months pregnant with my next sister.
well, of course she was.
Of course she was.
Do you ever remember? Sorry to get off track. Was there ever a time that you remember your mom not being pregnant?
Yeah. Before she surprised me before my senior year, saying, "Oh, by the way, we're having another one, and it's a girl."
Okay.
But at that point, I just actually, I look back on that and I was a typical teenager and I did not respond the right way. I was kind of entitled, how dare you have another kid?
That's
It's
how you
like
acted?
it's my prerogative or
Yeah.
I get to be part of that decision.
Yeah.
But I was 16 probably when she
Well,
announced it.
yeah, that's a tough age though. 16. I mean, how old are your kids?
Oh, 15. So
Okay, so
almost
you're
have a
you're right
16-year-old.
there. Like the teenage years. I mean, when I look back on my teenage years, I think, well, yeah, what I didn't really do anything, and then my kids do teenage things, and I recognize all this dumb stuff that I did as a teen. It's a very difficult time. Kids
Karma,
trying to
right?
figure out, yes, no doubt, trying to figure out who they are, where they belong, how they
But
fit.
they think they know everything at the same time. It's a very
Yeah.
intriguing.
Yes.
It's cool that we get to go through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, 15, 12, 11, and 8
Nice.
ages of my kids.
You done?
Yes.
That's it.
So
Never know.
to go back to your other question though, I would say it didn't really happen until my early 20s when I really I feel like gained a lot of confidence and really came into who I am today. I mean, I am very even different than that time. I mean, we're
Mhm.
talking almost 2 decades to age myself. But I've had I feel like way more trauma happen in my adulthood than in my childhood.
Really? Okay, let's just talk about the 20s that you're talking about that seem to be this experience in your life that identified maybe who you were or what path you were on, who you're going to become. Because I think, especially for a guy like you in your position, CEO, running a business, there's a personality trait that goes along with that. There's lots of different, but there's some things that I think you can find common in CEOs. So what was it about that 20-year-old where you started to gain some confidence? What were those experiences?
Yeah, high school, I was not the kid that was asking the girls out and, dating a bunch of girls, and the girls didn't want to go out with me. But, then I left for college. Obviously, if you've been away, if you leave home for college, you get what I'm saying. Freshman year, it's very eye-opening. Whoa, I have to do everything on my own, and it's good and bad. And I left on an LDS mission, Mormon mission.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Mexico for 2 years. That I think was huge in just being able to communicate with other people in a confident way. Because you're always just, talking to strangers on the street, whatever, for 2 years straight, and getting rejected so often that you've experienced that rejection. And coming home, went back to college, and I had a friend there. She was a counselor. Do you remember EFY?
Yes.
I don't know what it's called now. They've changed it.
I don't know what it's called either.
FSY maybe.
Did you just make that up?
Yes. A church camp, right?
Mm-hmm.
For teenagers to come, and she's like, "You would be a great counselor at EFY." And I was like, and she started telling me about it, and I had never thought to do this. I didn't even go to EFY as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Just no interest, right? During the summer, spend a week at a church camp? No thanks. But I looked into it. I applied, and part of the interview was this interactive I don't know, what we're doing now. They're watching you interact and do improv. And I got the job, and I did that. And that I feel like was life changing for me, because for the kids that go to EFY really look up to their counselors, or not, but typically they
Yeah.
hire the right people. And it was kind of like the first like real leadership position I got to experience. And I I was like kind of surprised, like, whoa, all these kids admire me and want to be like me, and I had never felt like that before.
Mm.
And so it changed something in my brain, like, okay, like I can be the leader, or I can be admired. I have things to give to this world that people want.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really built my confidence, honestly, in a big way. And so I think that's kind of some of that context.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating. So you go away to school, eye-opening experience. You start kind of, putting yourself out there a little bit, go on a mission. And I mean, missions can be super difficult. Some people thrive. I think lots of people thrive. Some people don't. It doesn't fit that well. But it seemed like that you thrived in that environment.
I mean, it was freaking hard. I got to Mexico in August.
Yeah. Is it warm?
Is
it warm there in August?
And I had been learning Spanish for 2 months, but I was like, what did you teach me? Because I don't understand anything.
Oh, yeah. It's so different, right? So this is a total tangent. I'll do this to you sometimes. Don't let me get too far off track.
Okay.
But I love Mexican food, but I only really know American Mexican food, I think. Is traditional Mexican food where were you, by the way?
A city called Tampico. It's on the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah. Okay, so is a lot of seafood?
Yeah, actually they call themselves, I don't know if they really are, the the crab capital of the world. But see, no one outside of there knows that, so.
We do. Now we do. And so is the food, like, would you consider Mexican food different than what we consider Mexican food in America?
Yes, but also a lot of the same.
Very similar. Okay.
I think that we've taken the best parts.
You mean like a large combination plate?
Exactly.
Okay.
So,
perfect.
and it's come a long way in the last 20 years, because a lot of Mexicans do live here now and have brought that with them.
Yes.
But you couldn't find authentic Mexican street tacos, I feel like, 20 years ago in the United States like you can today.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're pretty close. Like, it's pretty accurate.
Yeah. It's good. Okay. So now you come back from your mission, and now you get into this, you have this opportunity to be a counselor.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been in situations, I'm sure you've been in situations where you have a terrible counselor and you don't relate and it's super difficult, and then you never want to be involved with that. But you had a different experience, and maybe you took it a different way. But you felt that leadership role and I'll say admiration. I don't want it to sound too crazy, but the admiration of the people you were working with, and that was meaningful to you.
It was, yeah.
At that point. And so I think you said that you felt like you had something to offer and people wanted that. Like, am I getting that right?
Well, to go back to what you said at the beginning, it was like the first time in my life where I experienced people gravitating to me.
Gotcha. And that can be kind of addictive.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
it feels great.
Yeah, it feels good to have that kind of response.
But people. I was also just like, why, kind of, at that point.
I think a lot of us still say that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, wouldn't that be fair?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Why him? Why Eric?
I mean, why me? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I don't think people really say that. Okay. Let's fast forward because I think that's a pivotal experience. And now you're okay, CEO, Wallaroo Media. How long have you been in this position?
Little over 2 years.
Okay, so from that experience, would you say that started your path? Did you think at that point, well, I want to lead an organization, or I think that's where I will flourish, is in a leadership position in some venture?
Oh man, it's such a interesting question because when you're asked that in your career early on, where do you want to be in 5 years, or what do you see yourself doing? What's the ultimate goal? I hate that question.
So I'm just going to scratch that one
because
out.
even today,
that was coming next.
Because even today, I'm like, I don't know where I'm going to be in 5 years, and I'm glad I don't know. And I mean, I would ask myself, yeah, do I? Because I went to school. If we want to backtrack a little bit,
Sure.
My mom forced me to pick a major going into my freshman year. I had no idea what I wanted to do. In fact, when people asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? My dad was a dentist. I would just say a dentist, but I didn't want to be a dentist, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I think, honestly, that's
just by default, you were just so tired of the question that you're like, yeah, I just want to be a dentist. I'm just going to settle.
When I was about 12.
No offense to all the dentists who may be listening.
Well, when I was about 12, he started taking every Friday off. So I was like, hey, 3-day weekends.
Oh, and then it became, I want to be a dentist.
I want to be a dentist so I don't have to work and be a dentist.
Fridays, yes. Okay.
But I was like just flustered. What major should I pick? I picked engineering out of the blue. So my first semester at
Clear
college.
path to dentistry is right through the engineering college.
Exactly. A dentist is an engineer for the mouth.
Oh, I'm going to write that down. If we put titles on the episodes, can we put that?
I approve.
Here's Eric Farmer. The farmhand's not going to stick. He's going to be the engineer for your mouth.
We need context.
Okay. Back on track. Here we go.
So I hated my classes. I got like D's and C's in all my engineering classes. Basically wasted a semester, got back from my mission, and changed to biology because then now I'm on track for dentistry.
Dentistry, yes.
Because you have to take all these prerequisites like what are all those
chemistry
classes.
Biology, advanced mathematics.
So that next year, I again hated my classes, but I tried a lot harder, and I was studying, but it was not fun. And I had conversations with my parents, and I was just like, I'm just not enjoying this. I don't know if it's the right thing for me. And I switched to advertising. And bam, like overnight,
The light
I was enjoying school.
Shining down on you.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's not that the classes were easier. It was like I was enjoying the content.
But were the classes easier?
Yeah. Wasn't organic chemistry, so
you didn't have to bind all those atoms together and things.
Yeah, I can admit that. And from there, it's just like you're figuring things out. And so I got my first job out of college there in Rexburg. I was at BYU, Idaho, and moved down here to Utah because my grandparents were like, "Hey, do you want to live in our basement for free?" And we were like, yeah, so I was married, had one kid, less than one. Younger.
Wait, you skipped over you went through all your college experience and you never said, oh, by the way, I got married and we had a kid while we were there.
So right after I switched major, after my first year as an EFY counselor, yeah, I did it 2 years, but I started dating my wife, like in between those 2 summers. And yeah, we did the whole quick dating, and it was about a year.
So there was some
from meeting to
early chemistry. See what I did there? Because you didn't like chemistry,
but that chemistry I loved.
Yeah,
and
still do,
and still
okay.
Appreciate chemistry for sure and biology.
Okay, so you're moving in with your grandparents, right?
Well, super poor, out of college,
Yeah.
no money, and we're like,
With
wait,
a kid.
so no rent. And I honestly didn't have a job, but we moved down here. Faith in every footstep.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
And got a job very quickly at Orange Soda. So everyone listening to this, I'm sure there's a handful that worked at Orange Soda, because that was like the fastest growing, biggest early digital marketing agency in Utah.
Oh, I thought you
Like-
were going to tell me it was like the first swig.
No. But
Which-
a lot of
which-
people wondered.
To be honest, between you and I,
Could have been.
still baffles me.
Nah, I don't know. It started in the right
You're a
state. Let's
swiggy?
just say that. No, it baffles me, but I get it.
It baffles you, and you get it.
Me personally, but I get.
You
I
buy
just
you.
see
It baffles you, but you still purchase it.
I don't.
Oh,
My wife.
so okay, got it. Okay,
Yeah. So where are we at now?
you
But
were in Orange
Soda.
yeah.
And then, that just churned out, like, got a lot of great people and great marketers going and launched their careers. So shout out to Orange Soda.
Nice.
And from there, I went on in-house. I worked at 1-800-Contacts for almost 4 years there in Draper. But I wasn't actually working on 1-800-Contacts. I was working on a sister company that they were starting up called glasses.com. So basically, they owned the contacts industry. Now, let's go into glasses.
Yeah.
And so I was like the digital marketing manager there for
Gotcha.
a long time. And I'm asking myself, what do I want to be? Do I want to be a CMO? Am I even capable of that?
Mm-hmm.
Just never really knowing what my career path has in store for me. Then I go to an agency, 97th floor in here. And that was a great opportunity because I went from being like an individual contributor to management. So they asked me to build out the paid team because they
Gotcha.
only did like SEO and content.
Gotcha.
And ads has always been my background. I started doing Google ads in like 2008, right out of college.
Wow.
So also, I did skip ahead while I was at glasses.com.
Mm-hmm.
For 2 years, I went to grad school up at the U, got my MBA. And I would say those were 2 of the hardest years for me and my wife because we had a kid a couple months before I started. And it was night classes. So I was working full time.
Was that like the professional MBA program?
Professional? Yeah.
Yeah.
So working full time in Draper, we live in Pleasant Grove, and then I would drive all the way back farther up to the U, from like 6 to 10, 2 to 3 times a week, and then get home 11 p.m. maybe, and then start all over at 7 a.m. Getting off to work again. Because this was like nothing was remote back here. It was like, no, you're in the office.
Yeah.
And we had a kid right before I started my MBA. 6 months. He's 6 months old. We find out we're pregnant. We find out she's pregnant. And that was kind of devastating at the time because so they're 15 months apart. But basically going into my second year of MBA school, we have another kid. And so I'm basically just leaving my wife at home all day with 2 very small children, and we're never seeing each other. In fact, we would say to each other, before I left the house every day, see you never. Like that was just a joke that we would cry over. But man, that really, I think going through stuff like that is, you look back and you're just grateful for it.
Character building experience.
Man,
Iron is forged in the fire.
exactly. That was a fire.
So, yeah, that's a fire. So let me fast forward a little bit because I think all of those experiences are critical to the position you're in today and how you manage your team today. Would that be accurate? Would that be fair to say? Like you can draw on all of this experience you had. Let's just go back to your college years and on through. I mean, the stuff that you just described.
All of it.
So what are some of those, what are some of those lessons? What are some of the things that you can look at your daily activity or the activity with your team at Wallaroo, and what do you draw on in difficult circumstances or just as a leader?
Well, I need to share one more experience before I answer that,
Perfect.
because I got let go
At
from 97th
97.
floor after about almost 3 years of being there. And it was a gut punch. I wasn't expecting it. But looking back, maybe I should have been expecting it. I was very happy there. I loved it. It's a great company, great culture. And anyway, so that wrecked me. I couldn't find employment for almost 2 months, which, I had 4 kids at the time.
Wow.
And our youngest was,
And your wife is not working at all?
she's
Or
not
she?
working. I mean, we made that decision, and she wanted to be at home. She's worked since, on and off. But,
Yeah.
anyway, that was one of the most, defining things for me, that I am so grateful it happened.
Being let go.
Because I just think back, okay, like if that never happened, maybe I'd still be there. I was a director of paid media, but man, getting let go and then figuring out what I needed to do to make ends meet, over the next 2 months was like that. The fire, refiners.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right? Refiners fire?
Yeah. Iron's forged in the fire.
It forged me and set me on the path that I am on today.
I'm only going to mention this because I know that you and I share this love of Stoic philosophy. But isn't this the story of Zeno and the shipwreck? And he said, I made a very prosperous voyage when I shipwrecked, because that traumatic experience then defined him. But you would never wish to be fired.
No,
you would never wish for the shipwreck, but that was a defining moment in your career.
Yeah, great analogy. I love it. Thank you for bringing stoicism into
Absolutely.
this conversation. I
The
appreciate
capital
that.
S.
And so
Stoicism.
let's go back to your original question.
Okay.
I think all of these experiences, one thing, I guess a strength, I would say, of mine in leadership that just helps me in my day-to-day is I care deeply for people. And I feel like I can empathize with many things that they're going through. I've either been there or someone very close to me has been there. And honestly, I've been on this earth for 40 years, almost 41 years. And that's a strength of mine. I feel like I care deeply for people, and a lot of people don't do that. Don't.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And so it has helped me build trust in the team that we have. And that's kind of where it all started. So I've been at Wallaroo for 3 years. They brought me on as a VP. Just VP.
Just plain old
VP of everything. The founders, I had known one of the founders for a long time. He lives really close to me. I coached his son in soccer. And, we had always been talking about marketing, and he had been trying to pull me over for years, and it just wasn't a good fit. It finally worked out. They said, hey, well, why don't you come be VP? We're actually stepping away from the day-to-day. We need a CEO and a new VP. And so I took some risk, a drop in salary to make that move. But I saw a lot of upside and things that money can't buy.
Yeah.
Fulfillment and meaning and purpose in your job, in your,
Okay.
what you're doing.
Let me ask you a question about that. Fulfillment and meaning and purpose, because I think you can talk to lots of people in what seem like very nice professions. And, lots of times people they may be successful in a way, financially maybe, or they have a good title or something, but aren't fulfilled, aren't happy.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like you have maybe figured that out. You've built that puzzle of finding fulfillment. And so I want to know, is the fulfillment based on the career path? So being at Wallaroo Media and what you guys, and we'll let you talk about that a little too, but what you guys do at Wallaroo? Or is it more aligned with, or maybe combined with, this aptitude that you have for not managing, but working with, being part of a team, understanding people?
Both.
Yeah, there's something in both.
All of that.
Like
yeah.
you could have gone down the dentistry path. Didn't sound
And,
like that would be.
Millionaire, working 4
And
days a week.
taking Fridays off? You kidding me?
I take Fridays off.
Oh,
No.
man.
I wish.
I wish I could get a Friday off. Wow. I wish I could get a weekend off.
Dang, they're working you to the bone.
Right to the bone.
Who's your manager? Who's your supervisor? Let me talk to him.
Well, you'll have to talk to me. But then if I say that half jokingly, but then I'm not kidding, probably a dozen other people at the company would say, no, I manage him. I manage that guy.
Yeah.
Including Paula.
Yeah, but in a good way, right?
Yes.
And that's why they stay here.
Definitely. Paula's the best. She's my favorite fake manager.
Just so you know, she's interviewing at Wallaroo.
Well, can I write a letter for her? I mean, she's fantastic. You're going to love her. She's the best.
Oh, I know.
Ah,
Legal purposes, that is a joke.
That is a joke, I'll say, for legal purposes.
you joker. Hey, let me ask you this. I was going to say, like, you know, what is the thing that you do that makes you so successful? But I think it's all of this life experience that you've described leading up to this that you've really internalized and is meaningful. And I really like the part about how you engage people, and that's an important part of your job, because I think that's critically important, relationships with people. So, and not necessarily climbing the corporate ladder or climbing on top of people, but really engaging and being part of a team and even leading a team. And I know a little bit something about you too. So I'm just going to lead you into this and you can talk about it, because I know that continual improvement and education is, I would say, critical to you as you approach your work life.
It's everything.
And
so,
how do you accomplish that?
okay, so I need to just take a step back here and say I am not special in any way.
Listen, let me take a step back too and say you're good enough, you're smart enough, and doggone it, people like you.
I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
I have not always been this way. All of my life experience has led me to here, and yes, I've taken the path of when, life gives me lemons, or, the trials and stuff, like I've decided to rise from those ashes and not be a victim. Okay. So yes, you kind of have two choices. You can be the victor or the victim. So decide in any situation. And that, I think, has taken me time. I used to have a victim mentality. Like I didn't just come out of the womb wanting to be a victor. This has taken time, and everybody can get here and further. So, they say when you hit 40, you're over the hill, right?
Is that what they say?
Do they still say that?
Oh, man, I don't know where the heck I am then. I'm like on the way downside.
You're
Maybe I'm starting to
coming
come
down.
back up again.
No.
I'm so far down the hill.
Let
I'm
me
starting to come
finish.
back up.
Let me finish my thought, because you're not on the way down. There should never be a peak. There's no peak in life. When you're 80, you're still climbing that mountain.
I'm not 80. Why are you
When?
saying? Were you implying that I was 80?
I'm just saying,
You were like, when you're 80, like you're still climbing.
at 45,
Not to make
my You're
Not to
still
make a joke
climbing.
of this, but I agree with you. Like, I think that's absolutely the attitude people should have.
Yeah, so I'm gonna bring up a book, probably one of my favorite books that helped me with
Love
this.
it. I'm writing it down. Go ahead.
It's called Mindset by Carol
Oh,
Dweck.
Dweck.
Carol
It's
Dweck.
fantastic. I
So,
agree 100%.
When I first read that, and honestly, that's the thing is, I grew up. My childhood was '90s, so internet was like just coming to be. It was chat rooms and email and other weird stuff, and maybe Napster. And that's where I spent my time
Napster.
downloading Green Day songs and Blink 182. and
It's so funny how music defines eras.
right?
And the 90s was a terrible music era. No offense.
I don't know. There's some good
It's awful.
stuff. All those bands are making a resurgence because they took a break and then they lost all their money and they're like, we need to make money again.
That's probably true. Yeah. And there's a market for it, surprisingly enough.
Oh yeah. Everything goes full circle.
Yeah, that's true.
And now I forgot what I was saying. But something about the 90s.
You were talking about, you said one of your favorite books was Mindset,
Man.
Carol Dweck, and victim. You were going down this path of you used to be a victim and not a victor.
I think it oftentimes, of course, I've had the victim mindset, but I read that book and what I was getting at is nowadays it's just information age. You have anything at your fingertips, you can learn anything. But not when I was growing up yet.
Mm-hmm.
We were on the verge of that. And so learning what a growth mindset was versus a fixed mindset, that wasn't taught to children. But nowadays it is. Because we live in this information age and parents are teaching their kids really valuable lessons. I think nowadays that my parents just didn't have access to a lot of that information. And man, they did a really good job for not having access to that information.
Right.
And so I was in my 30s basically when I learned what a growth mindset was versus a fixed mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just eye-opening, and I decided okay, I'm going to have a growth mindset.
What can you remember a time in your life when you felt like the victim or you treated a circumstance like a victim?
Oh yeah. My senior year of high school, I got cut from the lacrosse team. And that sucked.
It was because the coach didn't like you or the other parents paid for their kids to be on the team?
Well, here's what
Is that what
happened. Lacrosse in the early 2000s was not very big. I bet Utah didn't even know what lacrosse was.
Not big in Utah.
It was
for
huge
sure.
in the East. and it
Always
was
in
making-
the East. Yeah, it's making its way.
across, and it hit Denver in the 90s. And so I picked up a lacrosse stick in my freshman year and loved it. So I was a soccer player and a lacrosse player. Luckily, one was fall, right? Lacrosse was spring. And so I wasn't like some crazy good lacrosse player. I was a natural athlete. I honestly, I could just pick up anything, and if I, just be good at it, and then get really good if I put time in. And so by the time I was a senior, just planning on making the team, no brainer, and ain't no thing. And for the first year in our club's history, the coach decided to bring freshmen onto the varsity team. And I just felt like that was so unfair. He decided to cut some seniors to mentor some freshmen, right? And bring them up on the varsity team for their entire high school career. And I thought, man, I am so unlucky. My senior year, the coach decides to do this to me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is never, if he didn't do that, I would have been on the team.
Sure, absolutely.
Instead of
Probably a
thinking I didn't work hard enough. I didn't put the time and effort in to be one of the best seniors to make the team.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, that was rough because all my friends made it. I was the only one that got cut. Not the only one, but of my friends. And victimhood set in,
Yeah. So how did you overcome it? What was the thing? that you used to overcome that, or was it a process over time where you discovered that? Because I think we suffer that in society today all too often, the victim mindset.
Yes.
I mean,
100%
like
agreed.
hard work, grit, determination, effort, like that seems to me like should be the foundation. And sometimes we forget about all of those things. So what was it for you, or what was the process to where you are today, like victor over victim?
I mean, processing that experience in the moment, I don't know. I was 17, or maybe like almost 18. So I was still very immature and young and just learning, and I think just time.
Yeah.
Because throughout the season, even like, it was embarrassing, and I didn't want to, they invited me to be a team, what do you call that? Team manager?
Mm-hmm.
No,
Mascot.
No.
Sometimes they call it a
Some
mascot.
pity thing.
What was your mascot, by the way?
Eagle.
Oh, that'd have been cool.
Doesn't
You
get
could have been.
better.
You would have been the best eagle ever.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We had
I could see
a
you
whole
soaring.
eagle costume.
Yeah, soaring through the stands.
I do like eagles.
Eric the Eagle kind of fits too, but I still am going to stick with the farmhand.
Thank you. Yeah, that's better.
So, can you use that analogy in your current role as CEO, victim, victor? Do you ever get an opportunity to use that?
We all
the
get
time?
that opportunity every day.
Yeah, love it.
And so a year ago, I had the team read Mindset, January of 2023.
How big is the team?
There's about 15 of us.
Nice.
Not counting contractors. So we're actually probably a little over 20.
Excellent.
We use contractors and have full-time employees and
How
part-time.
did the team respond to that?
Man, it was amazing. So we have a book club at Wallaroo Media that I set up, like, my first year as VP. And
Is it required?
it's not required. But this one I said,
But
look,
this one was required.
you're reading this book. And even if you don't read it, like, you're coming to the book club when we talk about it. You're going to understand these principles, because this is going to be who we are. Like, it's ingrained in our values and, like, our core values. And what it did to the team and is doing to the team is incredible. And I'm not saying that they all had like these fixed mindsets before, but once you're aware of something like that and can then actively choose, it's a game changer.
Sure.
And, no more blame game, no more whining about things, or the victimhood.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's so much more ownership, because we all make mistakes. We've made plenty of mistakes as a company, as individuals at that company, at Wallaroo, since we've read that. But man, everyone's like, you know what? I own that. And that's my fault, and that's my bad, and I'm going to learn from it. And so just that mindset is really priceless for a company.
Yeah. That's great. That's amazing stuff. And I think your team and your company clearly benefits from all of this stuff. It's one thing to go through those things, that the stuff that you described and your growth and how you ended up today. It's one thing to go through them, but then to be able to internalize it, utilize it, and teach it to others. I think that's where it's really powerful, and that's where you've had a lot of great success. So congratulations. Amazing, amazing story. I think
Thanks.
this is a good jumping off point for what I think is my favorite segment
Okay.
of the podcast. We like to call it 3 random questions. That's the first time I ever called it that.
Need to breathe.
Are you
Okay.
ready? Do you
I don't know.
follow professional soccer? No.
Not a
Okay.
lot.
God darn it. You said soccer, and then I was going
I
to
know.
ask you a soccer question, and then you said no.
People
okay.
are surprised by that.
Would you rather live on a yacht or in a remote cabin in the woods? By the way, this is a question that a lot of psychological exams include. So depending on how you answer, we're going to know something.
Psycho killer or
Yes. Very much that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hands down, cabin in the woods.
Really? You are not a cabin. I would have never guessed that.
And maybe my answer would be different, but literally when I was 10 years old, my dad bought a cabin for our family. And I know how amazing it is.
Have you been on a yacht? Like, have you been on a yacht?
Probably why not. I have not been on a yacht, and that rhymed.
I mean, I like the concept of a cabin in a woods, but if I had a choice, like cabin in the woods, secluded, chopping wood,
Keyword secluded.
yeah, yacht, sunshine, water,
That sounds amazing.
yeah, and okay.
My answer can be different from yours. And it's going to be okay. Or did you
Well,
want to
I have so much respect for you that I think your answer is gonna like sway my answer one way, but I still want to live on a yacht, I think.
Well, were you going to invite me on your yacht?
No. Here's the reason I'm not going to invite you on my yacht is because when it's the afternoon deck time, when the sun is just right,
Okay, I know where this is going.
and we go out and we have to, bare our chests, then I'm afraid of the consequences because you'd bring the guns out and I can't compete.
You know what they say? Sun's out.
Would you rather do 1,000 squats or 1,000 curls? I know the answer.
How much weight am I curling? Well, is it an air squat?
Or this is a better question for you. Can you curl the same amount of weight that you can squat? Yes is the
No.
answer. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
You can't see it. No one's understanding this because you can't see what's underneath the sleeve here, but it's impressive. But if you go to your LinkedIn, there's a picture of you on a boat. You're on a yacht. I think you're on a boat. No? Anyway, go check out the
not
gun
a
show.
yacht.
Go check out the gun show. Hey, did Taylor Swift put Travis Kelce on the map?
I mean, I think Travis Kelce put Taylor Swift on the map.
Oh, man. I would say the same thing, but here's the problem. Travis Kelce, it's now become where I used to remember when Travis Kelce was a cool football player.
Yep.
And now he's Taylor Swift's boyfriend. So as much as I want to be on the side of Travis Kelce put Taylor Swift on the map, it feels like that's a complete fabrication. It's totally the other way around.
That was more of a joke. Swift, here's the thing. If you're into the NFL, you knew who Travis Kelce was. So Travis Kelce put the NFL on the map for Swifties. I don't think they had ever watched a football game in their life. Maybe. I think there's a demographic that can appreciate NFL and Taylor Swift.
If I had anything to do with the marketing of the NFL, I think this is genius. You're kind of a marketing guy with a chemistry and
Kinda.
biology background, some engineering.
That's on my resume.
If the NFL had any sense of anything, they would take Travis Kelce's jersey next year and replace the name Kelce with Swift on the back of his jersey.
You think so?
Wouldn't that be genius marketing? Why did you hesitate? Why did you hesitate? You didn't know?
I don't know. Yeah, I like it.
That seemed very uncommitted.
Well, or they put Taylor Swift in a uniform. Here's the thing I want to say. Because
wow.
Here's what I really believe. Taylor Swift has worked her freaking butt off to get to where she is, and she deserves all the credit. So she's put in the work.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I respect her as an artist. I don't necessarily listen to all of her music.
Are you a Swiftie?
I mean, from a business sense.
Yeah. It's true. It's hard to get around that.
Yeah.
But like, it's one of those things. It's kind of a Michael Jordan thing to me. Is Michael Jordan had all the talent, but the bigger thing for Michael Jordan and for guys like Kobe Bryant is they maximize their talent through focus, hard work, dedication, sacrifice, all of the things. Because there are plenty of other people who are significantly talented that never get that far.
Carol Dweck talks about Michael Jordan in Mindset.
Yeah,
And
the
that's
GOAT.
there's a whole chapter on sports, right? And why he rose above even other pro athletes.
Yeah. Well,
And it's because of exactly what you
yeah,
just said.
and I think
he
you
was
could make
never satisfied.
that. Mm-hmm.
But he probably could appreciate and enjoy. I don't know, maybe he did. But
Yeah.
just that mentality of knowing he was never as good as he could be
Yeah.
is like, so that's my favorite book because it sets the stage for any other self-help leadership book, whatever you do.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the gym, if I want to lift more weight, it's mental, like not more than physical. If I want to be more of an emotionally intelligent person, it starts with the mindset. It just starts there. Is
So-
what I've learned.
This is a good transition because I wanted to ask you about, like, what are the best things that you've learned? What are the best lessons you can give to the listener about, whatever you consider success is in your life? And I think that's probably the starting point for you, is this concept of mindset.
For sure, I would say two things, and they go together. But consistency over intensity. I mean, you show up day in and day out, and maybe you're giving it 75%. You're gonna be successful. That time and experience accumulated over time basically just equals success. Now, if you show up once a week at 100% or twice a week, you're intense, but it drains you. You can't show up the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And so consistency over intensity. And then the second half of that is just never quit.
Yeah.
If you don't quit, you'll beat out 95% of people.
Are you familiar with the story of Shackleton and the unbelievable expedition that he went on with his 22 men and that whole thing?
No, but I want to now.
You should. I'm just going to
Shackleton.
leave that.
Okay.
I'm just going to leave that. You go research that. There's a podcast out on it.
And then a bunch of people are going to have to Google it because you're
Yeah.
not going to share with us.
Yes, because I don't have it on the top of my head. But essentially, he's an explorer. He goes out. He gets stuck in an ice field 40 miles from shore with his 22 men, and then they find their way off of the ice onto land, and they fashion a few boats out of what they have available. They have to. This is, way back when they have to go sail across rough seas, find a whaling village. I mean, it's just unbelievable. But it's like you said, it's this never give up attitude. And I kind of want to give the end of the story, but I guess I won't.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. Okay. What, as we kind of wrap things up here, again, thank you for your time. This has flown by. It's been so great.
Has it been 3 hours already?
Talking to you. This 27 minutes has gone faster than I could ever imagine.
I'll take that as a compliment, because time flies when you're having fun.
That's what they say. Okay, I want to give you just a minute to tell us a little bit about Wallaroo Media and what you guys do.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for having me. This has
Absolutely.
been amazing. Wallaroo Media, we are a 13-year-old company.
Congratulations.
So a lot of people are surprised by that, but hey, we've been around the block. And so shout out to Brandon Doyle, Kate Hendershot, the two founders, that started this back in 2012 and have grown it to what it is today, and then brought on the right team members like me to let's be honest. No.
I mean, the company did. I mean, there's this growth curve. When I landed there, it's hard to overcome.
I like to call it Wallaroo 2.0. So we are an ad agency, and even before my time here, we help e-commerce brands scale their companies, their brands, their revenue through paid media. And since I've come on, I mean, I would say we are a completely different company than when I started 3 years ago. And hopefully the team and everyone would say that's all a good thing. But something that I learned at the company I was at before Wallaroo was the importance of processes and systems and making sure that those are in place. And when I got to Wallaroo, there weren't really any. And so very eye-opening, but I was excited. I saw it as like this challenge and like this thing that I could mold to be mine.
Yeah.
And so we've put the processes in place that have evolved too, because in digital marketing, I mean, things change in 3 to 6 months, and you have to be able to adapt. And so 3 years is an eternity in digital marketing. So we've evolved, excuse me, along with the market, but we know what we're good at. We're good at managing Facebook spend, Google spend across, all of those major ad platforms for e-commerce brands, building the ad creative for that. We have an incredible in-house graphic design team. And then also what we've incorporated recently is landing pages, because oftentimes we do this, we create an awesome ad. We're targeting the right people in the ad, and we drive them to the website, but it sucks or something, So that's like that final piece of the funnel.
Yeah.
So we're building these awesome funnels for brands to acquire customers. That's ultimately what we want to do through paid media, is acquire new customers. We're not trying to bring back returning customers. They have all those other channels, email, organic, to do that. And we're that's why we help them scale. It's because we're growing the cohort of new customers for them. That also we kind of vet brands that we work with.
Sure.
Because good marketing, what's that saying? Good marketing cannot.
Is there a saying? Iron is forged in the fire.
Something like that. If the product's bad, good marketing can only help it so much.
Is that really the saying?
No, I butchered it.
I like that.
I need someone to put it in the comments.
We'll do that. We'll figure that out.
And so, but like, if you have an amazing product, you honestly could. Actually, I shouldn't say this because I'm a paid marketer, but the best form of marketing is word of mouth. For any brand, it doesn't matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so that requires no cost from the brand, right? But that's not why it's the best. It's the best because your closest friends and family, the ones that you trust the most, are telling you to use it.
Yeah.
And you trust them more than you trust the brand telling you to use it. And so, but hey, still, hire us to do your ads.
Yeah. Because if you have a product, even if you have a great product, even if you have a product that's not so great, you might be able to, your process, the stuff that you've built, get it over the hump.
Get over the hump, exactly.
I have some ideas for product. We'll talk about it
off the air.
Off the air. Yeah, definitely. You've given us so many great nuggets. Mindset, consistency over intensity. I love that. Show up. Don't quit. I hesitate asking you this. What is one more nugget What is one
Don't
more
you
nugget
dare.
that you have that you would leave with as a CEO, as a successful business person who runs a business and manages people, manages teams? Is there what's another nugget that you would leave with our listeners?
Oh man, I've given so many.
You have. I know, that's why I felt terrible asking that. But I'm going to ask.
I mean, it's been kind of serious. This has been a serious conversation.
Very.
So my nugget is, don't take life too seriously.
I like that.
Like, let's end on that, because
That's a great place to end.
You really, in all of everything that we've talked about, all of the trials and everything that we go through, like, really, you have to enjoy the journey. You really do. Like, if you think, oh man, I'm going to be so happy once I get that raise, or once I get that promotion, or once I move out of this rental to my own house, you are going to be so unhappy.
You know, this is a recurring theme. It's interesting that you say that today, because we've heard this in the past on other podcasts, that you have to enjoy the moment, be in the moment. And there's a key to happiness. So anyway, Eric, the farmhand farmer, I can't tell you how much we appreciate your time. It was fantastic talking with you. Best of luck with Wallaroo. How can people find you?
WallarooMedia.com.
Perfect.
Website.
Excellent.
All of the socials at Wallaroo Media.
Yeah.
Or DM me on LinkedIn. Find me on Twitter. I will respond. Happy to chat.
Awesome.
And thank you, Frank. This has been
Absolutely.
great.
I hope we can do this again.
Let's do it.
There he is, Eric Farmer. Thank you for listening to the Know Your Ship podcast presented by eHub. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review.